this edition of Agri Tech Media, you're going out to drive the John Deere 8R HHP. And what is HHP? 3 new models from John Deere join the 8R series. John Deere showed 3 new top models for the 8R series in early 2026. It's not an extension of the 8R series. They call the new 8R HHP, which means high horsepower. And that is because the new 8R series is a significantly larger tractor than the current 8R series. We've incorporated a different engine, an upgraded cabin interior, an extended wheelbase has been added. There is now the possibility of fitting taller wheels at the rear, and furthermore, we have achieved substantially increased horsepower figures. Through the tractor. In the top model, the 8R 540, we deliver a full 634 horsepower with boost. Looking at the new John Deere 8R HHP series, it looks just like the 8R 410, which is the top model in the current 8R series. And that continues, as this is a new top model coming into the 8R series. John Deere's 8R series expansion has 3 models, 8R 440, 8R 490, and 8R 540. Agri Tech Media has been in Germany to exclusively try the only existing copy in Europe right now, the top model, 8R 540. The new series is expected in Europe as fully saleable units in spring 2027. The new 8R HHP series comes in 2 versions, the wheeled tractor tested here and an RX version with 4 tracks instead of wheels. The RX versions have the same build as the current 8R and 9R series. This means it's not just wheels removed and tracks fitted. It involves a completely different build with different axles. Thus, the new 8R HHP actually becomes an alternative to the large articulated 9R tractors. Whereas the standard 8R series spans from 280 to 410 nominal horsepower, and the standard 9R series covers 440 to 640 horsepower, the 8R HHP comes with power from 440 to 540 nominal horsepower. But with boost and max power, we reach a full 634 horsepower. The top model in the standard 9R series, the 9R 640, peaks at 691 horsepower. Additionally, we have the 9RX in HHP version, meaning 2 models, either 9RX 710 or 9RX 840, from 781 up to a full 913 horsepower. The new 8R HHP therefore has virtually the same power as the standard 9R tractor, but in a much more compact version. And there are also several similarities between the 9R and 9RX in the new 8R and 8RX HHP series. For example, the engine is the same JD14X engine with 13.6 liters of displacement, which the 9R series uses. It's an engine with 1 turbo, wastegate tech, and EGR coolers, meaning exhaust gas recirculation. This means it reuses some exhaust gas in the combustion again. There is also a DPF, diesel particulate filter, a DOC, diesel oxidation catalyst, and an SCR system, meaning AdBlue addition, to meet engine requirements. This indicates that the engine is a low-speed engine with the primary operating range down to 1,600 engine revolutions per minute. Max torque is 2,695 Newton meters and power is constant from 1,450 to 1,900 RPM. In the top model we are looking at, the nominal power is 540 horsepower, but when the engine is pushed, the power increases further by 54 horsepower to 594 horsepower. We can then add the boost function, which John Deere terms IPM, Intelligent Power Management, which gives an additional 40 horsepower, resulting in 634 horsepower. It is sensor-controlled boost activated by hydraulic consumption, PTO work, or transport. Cooling water and the air filter can be reached and checked from the ground. And while the hydraulic oil service interval is a full 2,000 hours, the engine oil service interval remains at 500 hours. As an extra, an engine brake can be chosen for the new 8R series, which can deliver 300 kilowatts of braking power, which helps to minimize wear on the transmission's brakes. When the engine speed is high and the road speed is reached, the tractor automatically brakes the engine and keeps the speed constant without using the wheel brakes. The transmission in the new 8R HHP is exclusively the e-auto power, or EIVT, which is the electric continuously variable transmission. Here it's an electromechanical split in the transmission instead of a mechanical hydraulic split, and there are electric motors instead of hydrostats. From -5 to +5 kilometers per hour, it's full electric power transfer in the transmission. The transmission debuted at Agri Tech Media in 2019, showing a capacity to draw up to 100 kilowatts. To the rear of the tractor for use with implements like electric tillage and wheel drive. In North America, this week shows the possibility of running seed drills fully electrically instead of hydraulically. However, in Europe, this technology remains in its very early stages. Looking at the new John Deere 8R HHP series from the outside, it looks exactly like the 8R 410 we know, which is the top of the current 8R series. And that continues as this is a new top model coming into the 8R series. The wheelbase on the 540 model here behind me compared to the 410 is just under 30 centimeters longer. And the overall length of the tractor is only 35 centimeters longer than the current 8R series. How is this achievable given the larger tires and bigger engine? This is partly achieved by a small clever detail here at the front hitch, because this front hitch is now even more integrated than before. And you see it quite clearly because where is the lift cylinder? They actually lie horizontally down here. This is partly what has allowed the front hitch to be positioned closer to the tractor, resulting in a saving on the tractor's overall length. The front weights are also new, and up to 4 times 700 kilograms can be fitted in the front weights at the front, which, as you can see, are designed for easy mounting and dismounting with a forklift. When discussing weight, the tractor's base weight is 16.950 tons. And with 950 kilograms of internal wheel weights per side, and with up to 820 kilograms of external wheel weights per side, the combined total reaches 6.340 tons, totaling 23 tons, 290 kilograms. We are nearing the magic 40 kilograms per horsepower, which is needed to transfer power to the ground. This also requires optimal ground connection. That's why there are Group 50 rear tires on the tractor, 2.3 meters in diameter. The front tires have a maximum height of 1.85 meters. John Deere's Integrated Air Inflation System. CTIS, Central Tire Inflation System, can be chosen for the tractor's 4 wheels and for any twin wheels. The alternative is an RX version with 4 tracks. Tracks can be chosen in 3 widths, 21, 24 or 30 inches. Unlike the smaller 8RX models, the track supplier is new. It is Suzy, where the rubber blocks are now vulcanized onto the tracks, not glued, unlike the current 8RX models, which should help ensure better power transfer of the over 100 horsepower more that the new 8R HHP delivers. The base weight for the 8RX starts at 21.9 tons. Hydraulic capacity is 418 liters per minute from 3 pumps. There's a double-acting hitch front and rear. The rear lift handles 10.8 tons with Category 5 connection capability, and the front hitch lifts 4.8 tons. Both front and rear hitches are specified at 610 millimeters from the lift arms. This means that the actual lifting capacity right at the lift arms is somewhat higher, but how much higher, John Deere does not want to say. So, comparing the lifting capacity directly with competing tractors can therefore be a bit difficult. The front hitch is also double-acting with 4.8 tons capacity, and a front PTO is possible. The rear PTO runs at 1000, 1000E or 1300 RPM, taking up to 550 rear horsepower. Front axle is new. It continues to be the independent front axle suspension that the John Deere 8 Series has used for several years, but for the first time it is without grease fittings in the suspension part itself. There are grease nipples at the final drives, but the number of them is significantly reduced now. Heavy-duty independent link suspension with the abbreviation HDILS refers to the John Deere front axle, which guarantees a turning radius of only 7 meters. The front axle automatically adapts its suspension while transporting when cornering on the road at high speeds. This should help reduce body roll in corners and minimize dive during hard braking, because it goes fast on the road with the new John Deere 8R HHP up to 60 kph where allowed. John Deere notes it's just 1,440 RPM. Let's try to get the 13.6 litre John Deere engine started, because there are actually several new things here when we start the tractor. First, it's a bit higher into the cab than before. There's an extra step. And a very smart detail here. Once we are up here, and we are seated inside and we go to close the door, we usually have to exert a considerable amount of effort to shut it. That is no longer necessary because this soft close switch, I've looked at John Deere's combines. See here, it just goes like this. Door shut. And there is no key operation in the tractor anymore either. It happens here with push buttons, as you can see. When we press once here, the terminals start up. Then you can input a code into the convenience display here. You can enter it, and the next time we press the button, the tractor starts. And then we are essentially ready to depart. The cab in this new 8R series is considerably larger than the one found in the preceding 8R series. There was some confusion surrounding this, as the initial announcement suggested that only the 8RX would receive an enlarged cab, while this 8R series would retain the cab. That is currently on the existing 8R series, but that is not quite right because it is the same cab on the 8R and 8RX models. At the press conference in Germany, which Agri Tech Media attended, where we got to get very close to the new 8R series, John Deere said that the cab pillars are essentially identical to those of the smaller 8R series. But on these new HHP models, there is 15% more legroom and 20% more glass surface area compared to, for instance, the 8R 410. In classic John Deere fashion, we use auto turn for self-turning on the headland. We've set the boundary to hit just before the edge. Then the tractor lifts the implement itself while it handles the turn. And with only 7 meters with the turning radius, we can turn and pass right beside, even with this 9-meter coupling vector harrow. We are ready again, hit the boundary line. The implement lowers itself and we drive. The 8R series, which I'm driving today, won't be a dedicated Agri Tech test, as it's still a prototype or a pre-series model, because it is the only new 8R model running in Europe. It is exactly this tractor used for all the press photos and videos we've seen of the new 8R series on social media. This implies that several elements within the cab will be subject to change. For instance, the material used for the armrests is not the final choice, but it still gives a pretty good idea of what the new 8R series has to offer. We are approaching again. The boundary is in front, and we can see here on the screen that we have our line here where we lift the implement. Then we cross here. The tractor does everything. And then we are ready for the next pass. And it's impressive that with up to 600 horsepower, we can turn here on 7 meters, as you see, and drive right next to it. That makes this tractor extra interesting for European farmers, and not just designed and built to run on the prairie. And we see that in several areas because the new 8R HHP comes with several transmission choices, including up to 60 kilometers per hour. We can't do that in Denmark, where the maximum is 40 kilometers per hour. However, here in Germany, there is absolutely no question that this 8R tractor will be handling transport duties at speeds reaching 60 kilometers per hour. Command Pro right armrest, it's new on the 8R HHP. And this new armrest that you are seeing, it will in time also make its way over to the remaining 8R tractors. And you shouldn't also assume that it will be included in the other tractor. What has changed? Well, I can say that the drive handle, the Command Pro drive handle here, it is the same. And this is our joystick here. We can actually put more functions into it too. But there is now an option for us to have both the Command Pro X, like this unit, and the Command Plus, which is a more basic drive handle. The price difference between the Plus version and the Pro version here is not very large, so I think the tractors we will see in Denmark will have the Command Pro drive handle here with up to 14 programmable buttons. We got a new display down here, the convenient display. From here, we can set functions like climate control, which we see here, and the radio. We also have seat adjustments. That means this is where we have our massage options. Now I will select massage 2 here, and over here, we actually have 3 presets for the seat. This implies that the individual operators can configure. This means that each driver can customize their preferred seat setting. Consequently, upon entering the tractor, they have the ability to position the seat exactly as was set last time they drove the tractor. And it's not just the seat being set here, the right armrest is also electrically adjusted now. To adjust the seat, we simply click on the area we wish to adjust. This could be the base here, it could be the cushions in the backrest, or it could be the armrest on this side. As you see here, we can go back, forward, up, or down. We also have ventilation and drying. And there is actually also a new option here to send air up here into the backrest. Right here, air can actually come out. And I must say that on a day like today, where I'm sitting in my heavy winter jacket because it is not very warm outside and it is a real March day here, then you quickly get warm water. And it's actually really nice that air comes up into your neck here from the seat. It's a pretty good detail that has been added. And looking at the display otherwise, we also have several functions available for the screen. Like lights, we can adjust the beam. We have the return to home feature, which controls when the lights should switch off on the tractor and when we leave it in the implement shed. And then one might ask, now that we have the radio settings down here, is our terminal up here in the ceiling, which has also actually been changed, still necessary? It can run the latest Apple CarPlay, among other things. One might slightly doubt that because with the convenient display located below, people will certainly use that for adjusting the radio and related functions. So the screen up here might be somewhat superfluous. The remaining displays are familiar from the 8R series. Over here we have the display on the right A-pillar. We have the option for an extra screen there, that is not standard, but the display on the right A-pillar, the G5 terminal here, the convenient display, and the one in the ceiling are standard when the new 8R comes to Denmark. Otherwise, the right armrest here actually has a number of new functions. Besides the Command Pro drive handle and the G5 terminal, which we know from before the convenient display, we have also got our hand throttle situated here in a raised section where our hand can rest when we use the various drive handles. It seems to work very well that we now have this raised part. Down here we have the buttons and the actual general controls we know from previous four-wheel drive, differential locks, beacon lights. We can mute our radio and adjust the volume up and down through this motor conversion. Here we have the parking brake. Let's take 1, 2, and 3, 4 hydraulics here. Like this, we have activation for the front PTO and the rear linkage PTO. The mouse here on the side is still used to set where we find the height, and then we can set and quickly raise our rear linkage seats here on the side. Thus, we have the capability to assign numerous functions to the Command Pro drive handle, similar to the lever beside the joystick here. It is not just hardware news on the new 8R models. Something has also happened here inside the software, including for the transmission. The fact is there are now 3 different transmission modes. If I navigate to the menu here and choose transmission and enter the custom settings, there are 3 distinct modes: Eco, Standard, and Max. This Eco mode is designed for transport tasks, and it might sound silly that such a large tractor is out on transport tasks. Sometimes there are long trips for the tractor, and in Eco mode, we run with the fewest possible revolutions. In Standard, we have a mix of tractor exchange revolutions in tradition, and in Max, it's when we're running the harrow now. where we achieve the complete utilization of its substantial horsepower. They implemented this because they know they have a large tractor now, so this is where it can make sense to limit it in certain cases. So that's what you get now with this Tradition heavy machine. Whether something like this will come to the other 8R models is still unknown. The windshield washer for the front window has also been updated and now covers a full 330 degrees. The fuel tanks have been increased in size and hold a full 936 litres on the 8R models and a full 1,123 litres on the 8RX models. Furthermore, the reactive steering, first presented on the 7R models, is now also available in the 8R HHP. So, during road transport, the tractor corrects itself, a bit like driving a car. And yes, the GPS part, which I mostly skipped in this video. It's practically synonymous with saying John Deere means saying GPS. It has now been 25 years since the AutoTrack system was released, and one thing has been kept since the first units, namely the characteristic yellow color of the GPS dome, which indicates that the unit is equipped with GPS. Starfire antenna is built into the tractor, as is possible on the other 8R models. Variable rate control and section control with Jetalink are fresh, but in the tractor I tested with Auto Start Work Planner. The work tasks can be planned from the office and sent wirelessly to the tractor in the field, which automatically finds the task on the specified recorded field. AutoPath is rapidly developing at John Deere, and the automatic lines for the entire field now also include the trailed implements, which the tractor can now automatically reverse into the corners of the field when a GPS antenna is mounted on the implement. More on that in another Agri Tech Media film. And all this automation leads to the question of when the new John Deere 8R tractors will be ready for autonomous driving, and they actually already are in the USA. John Deere said for the 2026 season, they have 400 driverless units ready to run around the world. And according to John Deere, it's because of European legislation that we haven't seen more of this technology in our latitudes.